I see it counting down.
Yeah. I
Are we
think we
live?
are live.
I think we're live. I think we're doing.
We
Welcome to the
are.
Tracy Take. I'm Tyler here with my brother Ryan. We are the founders of the Tracy Take. We are doing a special live episode. It is going to be our final mock draft because less than 24 hours from now, we will know who the first overall pick is, as Jacksonville Jaguars will be on the clock tomorrow night in Las Vegas. So thank you for joining us as Ryan and I do our final mock draft on who we think they're going to pick, as well as the other 31 picks. But before we get into it, please subscribe to our channel if this is your first time here, and also like this video, share this video with your friends, and be sure to check out some more of our content. Ryan, I'm excited for this. This is going to be a lot of
Yeah.
fun.
This is going to be a lot of fun. This is the first time going live in over a year for us. So it's definitely exciting. And I'm ready to get into it. Do you want to explain to them how this is going to work?
Yeah.
And then we can get started.
Yeah, absolutely. So I am a Falcons fan, as you can tell, and Ryan is a Patriots fan. So we make this kind of simple. The Falcons are picking 8th, which is an even number, and the Patriots are picking 21st, which is kind of low for them. The Patriots aren't really that good, but that is an odd number. So Ryan will be doing all the odd picks, and I will be doing all the even picks. We'll be going back and forth. And Ryan, want to kind of throw it out. Do you want to include trades on this one, since this is the night before? Do you want to include any potential trades, teams trading up, trading down?
I would say yes, but it is Eastern time, and I have a job tomorrow. So I feel like we would
Okay.
be debating trades for a little while. So let's just do it where we think teams are going to pick. But as we go, I'll kind of meet you in the middle here. As we go, let's talk about if a team would be willing to trade back, and then who could trade up here possibly. So
I
we can
like
do
it.
hypotheticals there and kind of meet in the middle ground. We'll play Switzerland on this.
Okay.
So
All right. I like it. I like it. So, all right, man. Well, I say let's get into it.
yeah.
Jacksonville's on the clock. Who are they taking first overall?
So a guy lately that has gotten a lot of hype, who I like is who's Trayvon Walker out of Georgia. I think that is not a smart pick. I think he still has a lot to develop. Also, too, I think taking him first overall is a lot riskier because he was surrounded by, I think 4 other legitimate first round picks. So you have Nakobe Dean, Jordan Davis, Lewis Cine, and Devontae Wyatt. Right, those are 4 legitimate first round picks. That doesn't even include Quay Walker, Channing Tindall, Adam Anderson for the first part of the season, Darion Kendrick. Those are all guys that were on that defense that are going to be in the NFL next season. With that reason, I'm picking Aiden Hutchinson. I personally think that he is the safest and probably best prospect that is going to go here in the top 5. Very little injury concern, extremely high production on a defense that revolved pretty much around him, and his tape in both against the pass and run is fantastic. So
Yeah, yeah. That's fair. I feel like, especially Trayvon Walker, especially coming up as the number 1 pick, has kind of come up. Especially, I really just think within the past week or so. So I'm very curious to see if they do end up taking him. But I agree with you on this. It just because I think you know what you're getting. He's a workhorse. He's going to keep coming after the QB on every single play. But that being said, the Trayvon Walker though, it's like I could see them taking him, and I could see him having just as much success, if not more. I could also see them still going. It feels like offensive lineman now is completely out of the question, which is interesting. It always seems to. A couple months ago, it seemed like Evan Neal was the bona fide first overall pick, and then now that has changed a lot. So, but all right, Aiden Hutchinson, first one off the board. Now moving on to the Lions, and I've picked this guy second a couple times in a row, and I'm still going to stick with him. I know there's a lot of talk about the Lions maybe going quarterback here, maybe going with a cornerback also, but I think with where they're at and where they're projected, I think he's a raw talent, and I think he has a big ceiling, a higher ceiling than Aiden Hutchinson, but still needs a little work to be done. But Kayvon Thibodeau, I think, is going to be the pick here. I think the Lions can grow him into the elite pass rusher that he can become even more in. And I think that they just can't pass him up.
Yeah, and they have two other top 35 picks that they can either leverage to trade back up into the first round. I know a few people have mocked them trading up with teams in the early 20s to possibly take a Malik Willis, Sam Howell. Even I saw one that was even Matt Corral. So I think that they have a lot more flexibility with their later picks. But with this one, I think they got to pick a blue chip prospect because, in all honesty, there's not a ton of those in this draft. So, so yeah. And then up next is Houston Texans with the number 3 pick. So this is an interesting one. They have a lot of needs, as PFF has said here, every position. And I'm gonna stick with the safe prospects. I think I'm gonna go with Evan Neal here. I really like his tape. He's just a huge physical lineman, and he has flexibility to play both right and left tackle. And so I think he gives them a lot more flexibility than a guy like Charles Cross, who is almost more specifically left tackle. Another guy I think they could go with here is Akim Ekwonu, but I think the Houston Texans are going to develop a outside in approach to their offensive line. And also, too, I think this is a really deep guard class. So Evan Neal here is going to be my third pick off the board. Do you agree with that pick?
Yeah, I think offensive line here is going to be the best position because especially then they need everything. And I think I've stated pretty consistently on the channel here is like if you don't have an offensive line, you can't put up points. If you can't put up points, you're not going to win in the league. So you need to have one of the best offensive lines in the league just to even consider contending. And well, I say that, but then the Cincinnati Bengals just proved me wrong. But yeah, they had a lot of other stuff going for them.
But they were a lead on the other side of the football in the trenches, and also too, they had the ability to spread defenses out with their weapons. So that is a very unique scenario where I think that they were able to get by without an offensive line.
That's fair. I would say 95% of teams that have a offensive line that ranks in the high 20s or worse are not going to be competitive on a consistent basis. And so.
Let's put it this way. If you have Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd, C.J. Uzomah, and Joe Mixon all as weapons on your roster, then maybe offensive line is not a big deal. So if you're not one of those teams, then I would say offensive line is a good thing to invest in.
Yeah, that's a good point. I would think that is fair. And so another team that doesn't need to focus on the offensive line nearly as much because they addressed it big time last year, the New York Jets are up next. And I think they're going to be focusing solely on the defense, except for just receiver position, but I think they can find value at the receiver later on in the draft. And so for here, I think they're going to take on who I think is going to be the best corner. He's really risen up a lot, and that's going to be Ahmad Sauce Gardner. I think he's going to fit really well into that system. I think Robert Saleh is going to really enjoy having this class, and then also I think they could potentially pair him up later on in the draft with another corner that can also fit that system as well. I could see Derek Stingley Jr. also going here, but I think they're going corner, especially with the two top edge rushers off.
Yeah. I mean, as a Patriots fan, I hate that pick, but that means it is a good pick for the New York Jets. I think Robert Saleh is going to love Ahmad Gardner. Robert Saleh likes to be aggressive on defense and let his pass rush really get after the passer, throw wide receivers off their routes early. And I think Ahmad Gardner was made in a lab for that. He's 6'2" with arms that stretch to both sides of the field. Just a phenomenal pick here for the Jets. And then up next is the other New York team with their first pick in the first round. I think no other team has as big of a need at offensive line than the New York Giants do. And I think they have the perfect guy right here for them in Akim Ekwonu. He can play both guard positions, right tackle, left tackle. The only thing I don't think he has really played is center. And even then, I feel like he could be taught because he is just that versatile of an offensive lineman. But I think him and Andrew Thomas on the outside at the tackle positions is a very solid duo for the future. And like I said with the Houston Texans, this is a really deep guard class, and you can get good guards in the later rounds. And so I think that they can kind of fill in some of their missing pieces there and get a very solid tackle here at number 5.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think that this is a for sure offensive line pick. Whoever Houston doesn't take, if they take offensive line, the Giants are going to take the other offensive lineman because
Yeah.
the other three teams in front of the Giants here are not going to go offensive line. I don't believe, and so, but a team that does need offensive line is going to be the Carolina Panthers, who I think I'd have to remember. I think they had a worse offensive line statistically
No,
than the
that was the
Giants.
Dolphins, but uh
The Giants and Panthers were then 30th and 31st
yeah,
in one of
it
those
was something
orders.
like that.
And I know there's a lot of talk, and I'll get to that here. I'll bring that up in a second. But I think Charles Cross is going to be then their next option. I think he is also versatile on the offensive line. I've also heard that the Panthers like Charles Cross as well, and so I think that they're going to go offensive line here. I know this is a lot of potential talk of QB being taken here, and I'll throw that to you because I think this is still too early for a QB to be taken, but there are teams that are right behind them that could trade up and get a piece that they really need. So
Yeah.
I think this could be where we see the first trade. Which teams do you think would be interested in coming up and trading here with the Panthers?
So I think if Akim Ekwonu makes it past the Giants, I think we could see a potential trade here because Akim Ekwonu has the versatility to play guard for the Washington Commanders. I keep wanting to say football team, but and then also too, I think a lot of people are underestimating the edges like George Karlaftis and Jermaine Johnson. I think both of those guys could potentially go top 10. And then not to mention Trayvon Walker is still on the board. And so I think if a team really loves them, we could potentially see Seattle or the Jets or Minnesota trade up to get an edge player there. So
Yeah. Yeah. I was looking at teams like in that range as well. I was also potentially looking at a team like I guess New Orleans potentially because they have the 2 first-round picks, but I don't know if they want to do that with a division rival. I was thinking that also what the Saints could do would be trading up also then potentially for whoever's picking next, the Giants' second first-round pick. That's what I think they might want to do a trade with. But yeah, I like that. I think that could be a potential option. I've also seen if some teams really like a receiver, they want to go get a receiver here. This could also be a team that could. Or this could also be a spot that teams trade up for.
Yeah. I think that is probably the first spot we'll see a trade. I am curious to see how active people will be on draft night because I think a lot more teams want to move back than move up. So I think that is an interesting dynamic we'll have to watch, and we might actually see a few teams move up for relatively cheap, like possibly get into the top 10 for their current first-round pick and third-round pick. Which, if you remember last year, the Bears moved up from, I think, 19 to 11.
20th to 11th, I think they gave up.
2 first-rounders and a second and a third, I think.
I think second and a fifth.
Second and a fifth. So,
yeah, which is a lot. Last year's draft was definitely a seller's market. This is definitely a buyer's market, buyer's market for sure.
Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see kind of what moves are made. Next up is New York's second first-round pick. Like you kind of touched on this. I think this is also a potential trade pick, especially if a guy that they don't like is there. But I think a guy that they do like is there, and that is Trayvon Walker, the edge rusher out of Georgia. I really like the reuniting him and Azeez Ojulari, the edge rusher that was drafted by the Giants last year. I think that one fills a need, but two gives them a really dynamic duo on the front. And so now they have 2 good tackles, 2 good edge rushers. That secondary 2 years ago was really good. So I think the Giants would definitely be on the right path if they can get Akim Ekwonu and Trayvon Walker here.
Yeah. Yeah, this is. I think if this works out the way for the Giants, I think that they would be extremely happy with this first round. I mean, beefing up both of the trenches on both sides of the trenches. I think that's going to be a great pick. I agree. As I said earlier, the definitely potential trade candidate here for a team who, if there's a player that they really like, to trade up. But now on to the most important pick, the one I'm most curious about, the Atlanta Falcons picking at number 8. I don't think they're going to trade back here, only just because there's a lot of value here, and they need a lot of help and a lot of roster help. And there's a lot of different routes they could go. Jermaine Johnson's definitely a player I would like. I think also if they went corner here, I wouldn't hate that as well. Kyle Hamilton's also here. I think that would be a fit. I don't think they'll go Kyle Hamilton only because they drafted Richie Grant last year, and there's definitely more role. They're expecting a higher impact from him. And so this is a player who, and do you know who the who receiver 1 is right now for the Atlanta Falcons?
It's not Russell Gage because he's on the Buccaneers now, isn't he?
Yep.
Is it? I mean, Cordell Patterson re-signed, but he's
a running back.
Yeah,
he's a running back. So
I have no idea.
Olamide Zacchaeus. I think I'm pronouncing it. If I apologize, Olamide, if you're watching this and I mispronounce your name, I apologize. But let's be real, you're not watching this, and so. But I think you are going to have a receiver, a new receiver joining the room. I think you have a couple of receivers in this draft, and I was thinking about this today while I was at work, and I've been kept picking Garrett Wilson, and I was like, if it wasn't for Jameson Williams' ACL injury, he would be the number 1 receiver being picked right now. And by all reports, he is going to be. He's ahead of schedule, and with the 21st century medicine, I think he's going to come back. I think he's going to be perfectly fine. He is the most dynamic receiver in the class. The Falcons are not in a win now mode right now. So why not go and get the best receiver? Why not take Jameson? Why are we settling for Garrett Wilson just because Jameson Williams tore his ACL? People have torn their ACLs before and have come back perfectly fine, especially in the receivers position nowadays. I think they're going to pick Jameson Williams. He's the best receiver, and I mean, I think he is far. I think he is not immensely better than Garrett Wilson, but I think he is significantly better than Garrett Wilson. And I think he's going to be a great addition to this Falcons offense once they get an elite quarterback. And then let's say Calvin Ridley comes back after a year of suspension and he still wants to play with Atlanta. And then that's going to be a great dynamic duo right there. Then obviously combine them with Kyle Pitts.
Yeah. I like that pick. I don't think the Falcons are in a place where they need somebody to come in and contribute right away. I guess there's 2 concerns with Jameson Williams. One is the ACL. I have read that he is far ahead of schedule. And 2, it's just he only has had the 1 year of major production, but he did it at such a high level that I mean everybody's just kind of throwing out the fact that he only has 1 year of high level production.
And that's fair.
So, he consistently made just incredible plays at every level of the field. This again, like you said, it wouldn't be a debate if he didn't tear his ACL in the national championship. Yeah. So I like that pick by the Falcons. I think that's a really good pick. And who knows? I mean, I've heard he could be ready by training camp. I've heard he could be ready in October. I think either way, the Falcons would be very happy with that pick in the future. So
I've absolutely heard that as well. And I would say, and it's like the difference between getting Jermaine Johnson here or then getting a Nick Bonito in the second round. I don't think there's as big of Jermaine Johnson I think might be a little bit better, but the gap here from Aiden Hutchinson and Kayvon Thibodeau is much greater than I think than those 2 guys are. Yeah. Than the difference between those 2 guys. I think getting Jameson Williams here, I think he could become a staple for that offense.
Yeah. And to bring us to another team that I think has a lot of needs, and one of them is not wide receiver. At 9 is the Seattle Seahawks. And I think this is a dream scenario for the Seattle Seahawks here. To me, probably the biggest need that they have besides quarterback is secondary help. And I think you have 2 fantastic guys right here in Derek Stingley and Kyle Hamilton. I personally think that Pete Carroll is going to take the risk on Derek Stingley. But I also think it's completely possible that if Kyle Hamilton is here, his athleticism and ability is going to be extremely enticing to Pete Carroll. Who do you think that they are going to go with?
I think they're going to go with because he does like to have the big safeties as well, and Kyle Hamilton
Yeah.
definitely fits that bill. I think they're probably going to go with cornerback here because worst case scenario, a corner that doesn't make it
Hmm.
or isn't as elite at the corner position could potentially move to safety, especially if they find a smaller corner
Hmm.
that can roam in the backfield, play free safety
Yeah.
maybe. So they can make that transition. Kyle Hamilton, though, I don't think he can play corner, though. That's going to be the only issue. They can maybe move him up into linebacker, kind of have a similar
Yeah.
Jamal Adams duo. But I think Derek Stingley is going to be the option that they go with here.
Okay. Yeah, I think so too. I think Pete Carroll loves to have that shutdown corner. That's what kind of started the Legion of Boom was Richard Sherman, and then they added Cam Chancellor and Brandon Browner, two extremely physical DBs. So I hate leaving Kyle Hamilton on the board for the Jets at number 10, but I think Derek Stingley is the right pick there for the Seahawks.
Yeah, and I think in this scenario, well, I will say in this scenario though, the Jets, I've been seeing this a lot here, and Corey Davis doesn't look like he's going to be coming back after this season, and there are some good receivers now. I think they can add some value. Normally, I think in the past I have taken Kyle Hamilton here, but I'm actually going to mix it up here a little bit. I'm going to go with Garrett Wilson. I think now they're wanting to add this. Add another weapon here on the defensive side of the ball, and there's a lot of great value on the offensive side of the ball. There's a lot of great value later on in the draft where they can add secondary help and edge rusher help. But I think here with Garrett Wilson sitting here, I think he's going to be the best player. And I think then adding him up with then Elijah Moore and then Zach Wilson, potentially then also if they make a trade here for Deebo Samuel. I don't know what it's going to cost them if they're going to be able to get Garrett Wilson still, but I think that this is going to be the route that they end up going here and taking a receiver, addressing both sides of the ball on the outside.
Yeah. I mean, I think Garrett Wilson is kind of 1B to Jameson Williams now that Jameson Williams tore his ACL. But I really like that pick. Garrett Wilson is a guy that can play inside, outside. He's a threat at all three levels of the field. Good hands, good jump ball capabilities by the Jets. So, and then up next at number 11 is the Washington Commanders. This one is interesting. I think there's a few different ways they could go. I've seen Tyler Linderbaum go here. I've seen Devin Lloyd go here. But I think I'm actually going to go with Drake London. They really have no weapons besides Scary Terry. I think their tight end position outside of Logan Thomas is extremely weak. And I think they need to get some weapons in there. And then they can add to the offensive line and the defense kind of in the later rounds. And I think Drake London is the pick.
Yeah, and I like that, especially then seeing this kind of run of receivers go off the board. I think that they're going to want to address that position now. And take your guy. Drake London is going to be a great addition, especially with Terry McLaurin, who is kind of the do-it-your-all type guy. He's one of the most elite receivers in the league. Then you have Drake London, who goes after every ball, contests every catch. I think he's going to be.
Oh, you there? I think Tyler froze.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Perfect. All right. Sorry about that, guys. Let me see here. Am I still on this other one?
Delusional Patriots fan. Is it possible for Washington? I mean, I like making fun of their name, so I think it's okay. But yes, he did freeze, and So my biggest concern with Drake London is the fact that he doesn't have the fastest 40 time, but I think his jump ball capabilities and after the catch is really good. And then also too, for a big guy, he plays small when he needs to and plays big when he needs to. So I think that is his biggest strength as a receiver. So yeah, we had a couple comments there, Tyler, while you froze.
Perfect. All right, good. I'm glad we could kind of fill that space there. So sorry, I'm not able to see them. What were some of the comments?
This was not me, but Delusional Patriots fan asked if it is possible for Washington to draft a better name, and then he said you froze, and he said, "So I'm not the biggest fan of London. What do you think?"
Oh, yes. I think I think some organizational things have to happen before they can draft a better name. But yeah, I think London. I think that pick is kind of one because they could also draft cornerback there as well. Because I do see Trent McDuffie is also there. Potentially also might be a stretch, but a linebacker might also be some help. Pair him up with Jamin Davis. I know we've talked about that pick before, but Drake London, I think that's kind of one of those positional need draft picks. Is like we need a receiver, we need someone to throw to, and he might provide the best value there. So. Just the way that this draft is kind of work out, if it happens this way, Drake London would be the only guy of interest for there. But kind of moving on, though, to the 12th pick with the Minnesota Vikings. And I think this is kind of the dream scenario for the Vikings because now they have both Kyle Hamilton and Trent McDuffie to choose from, and they definitely need secondary help. And I'm actually going to go with the corner. I could obviously see them taking Kyle Hamilton here, but I'm going to go with Trent McDuffie. I think just with that division that they're in against Green Bay, they're going to need a lot of elite cornerback talent to match up against some of the receivers and some of these offenses. And then also at the same time, when they play games that they should win, like against the Lions, they have someone who can lock down Amon-Ra St. Brown. They can lock down that side of the field and really let that defense get go after the quarterback. So I think they're going to go with Trent McDuffie, but I think also with Kyle Hamilton's here, I could see them taking Kyle Hamilton as well.
Yeah. I'm a huge fan of Trent McDuffie. I like his game. Apparently, he is the smartest corner of the bunch, and he can come in day one and play both man and zone schemes at a very high level. So I like that pick for the Minnesota Vikings. I wish Trent McDuffie get as much hype, and then the Patriots could take him at 21, but I don't think that is going to happen. Here for the Houston Texans, this is a very easy pick as Kyle Hamilton is still on the board. And they just lost Justin Reed to the Chiefs, and I think Kyle Hamilton is the pick here. It's a no-brainer in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think so as well. The only thing I could see, honestly, maybe them taking or something else happening right here is a team trades up to Houston here. Like I could honestly, I've seen stuff and it makes sense. But like for Pittsburgh to trade up and go grab that first quarterback, or if there's some other teams, potentially the Saints really want to go get a quarterback, they have a pick that they can maybe use and then a little bit of extra draft capital. But I don't know if they would do that. But I could also then see them taking Kyle Hamilton here as well. And so, but then leading on to Baltimore, this is another one. And I thought about this more, and I've done this in the past, and I passed on taking this guy. But for me, I don't see how how they won't take Jordan Davis here. I think he would be a great addition to that defensive front, especially with the type of with the way they like to play football. I think that is going to be the guy that they end up taking here. Just throwing him up there in front of that line, and then let all their other edge rushers and linebackers absolutely just go after the quarterback because he's going to be taking up so much literal space. And so I think he's going to be a great addition. As much as I'd love to see the Chargers snag him up, just because I don't know why I think that would be fun to see him on that team. I think the Ravens are going to take him here. Yeah,
I think that's a good pick. He has what you cannot teach, and that is that he is 6'6", 350 pounds, and has pass rushing upside, which if you look at a lot of the guys in this draft that are going to play nose tackle, they're going to go in the 5th and 6th round because they either have pass rushing upside and aren't that great against the run, or they are just huge guys that take up a lot of space in the middle. And he has both, and I think that the Ravens, scheme-wise, fit him so well. And Coach Harbaugh over there will find plenty of ways to use him. So
Ryan, I have to ask, how fast is your 40? Because I'm pretty confident Jordan Davis is 100 pounds more than me and can beat me in a 40-yard sprint.
the fastest 40 I've ever run is a 4.68. Used to run 40s with one of my buddies who played football down at Georgia Southern, and the fastest I ever ran was a 4.68.
Yeah, but that was what? That was 5 years ago.
Well, okay. It was 3, I think. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Never mind.
So yeah, but again, that is only, what did he run, like a 4.8 or 4.9? So
he's a 4.8 or 4.9.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what's so impressive about him.
Yeah. Delusional Patriots fan said, "What about Wyatt for Baltimore?" I think that is also a good pick. He would be more of kind of a interior edge. So if they run like a 3-4 with the outside linebackers, and I think he would be on the outside of the tackles. And I think Davis is a better fit because Calais Campbell kind of played that nose tackle, the pass rushing nose tackle. And I think it would allow them more flexibility because there's more depth with guys like Wyatt in the draft, and there's only one Jordan Davis in this draft. So, that's why I think Davis is a better fit. But if Davis is gone, then I think Wyatt would also work. So, up next is the number 15 pick, which is the Eagles' first round pick. They need, I think, a linebacker and defensive back, and also an edge rusher. They lost Brandon Graham this offseason, and I'm a big fan of Jermaine Johnson. I think he offers a lot in both the run and pass game. He sets an edge, probably the best edge setter in this class, and I think he is a really good pick here. I like George Karlaftis. However, I think at the next level, he's going to have a much bigger jump up in, he's going to have a much bigger learning curve because he uses his athleticism a lot more at the college level, and he won't be able to do that in the NFL. So I'm gonna pick Jermaine Johnson here, and I think he will be a good addition on that defensive line for Philadelphia.
Yeah, I like the edge rushers here. I think that they're going to focus on the defensive side of the ball, especially if the draft pans out this way and there's not a receiver that's available with this pick. So I like Jermaine Johnson. I think I can see them going George Karlaftis. Also, if he is still available, I think Devin Lloyd would then be the next pick if he's still available. But we will have to see here. And so, but now with the Saints now up with their first pick of the second round, first pick of the first round, they need offensive line and receiver help are going to be the two big things I think that they're going to focus on. And for me, I see Bernard Raymond sitting right there. And I think they're going to go with him. I think I could see also, similar to the Eagles, potentially a receiver pick. Well, they definitely need a receiver pick, but they might be able to wait until a little bit later on in the draft. Right now, I just don't think they're going to get enough value from taking Sky Moore or Treylon Burks this early. And while I think that they...
What about Chris Olave?
Chris Olave is there too, and that's fair, and he potentially could be there for the next pick. And so I will say I did forget about Chris Olave actually, and so but I'm still going to pick with Bernard Raymond here because worst case scenario, if Olave's not there in a couple picks, then he's going to go with they could draft a receiver in the second round. Okay.
I do like that pick. I think Bernard Raymond is kind of the top of the second tier of tackles. You have the three big guys, but he's very athletic and another big guy like Jordan Davis. Not quite as big, but big and athletic on the outside of that offensive line. And then up next is number 17 with the Los Angeles Chargers. I said it right that time. I did not say San Diego. So up next, this is an interesting one. It says they need wide receiver, but they just signed Mike Williams, brought in Keenan Allen, or not brought back Keenan Allen. They have Josh Palmer, and then guys like Jalen Guyton that they really enjoy at the kind of the wide receiver 3 and 4 position. Tackle, I don't really like any of the tackles here at 17. If at this point all of those guys are off the board. I think this would be a spot where we could see a team potentially trade up. But since we're not doing trades, I am interested to see kind of who goes here. So I'm gonna go on a whim here and kind of trust my gut. But I think you have Mike Williams, who's a big rebounding wide receiver, and then you have Keenan Allen, who's that short route technician.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna go with Chris Olave because I think Chris Olave complements that receiving group really well, and he's kind of like a Jalen Guyton like extreme to me. He's a super precise route runner that is an extreme deep threat, and I think if you add him to that receiving core, I think you completely demolish all of those defenses that are in that division, which is already an arms race. Mm-hmm. So I think Chris Olave might be the pick here.
So I don't agree with PFF or really people saying that the Chargers need a receiver. You just listed off four solid receivers, as well as, if I'm not mistaken, I think they still have Jared Cook and then also Donald Parham, as well as their two tight ends. So I think if they draft a receiver here, it's going to be extremely crowded. For me, like, everyone knows how abysmal that run defense was last year, and Devontae Wyatt sitting right there. I think putting him at defensive tackle. This is where we just talked about Devontae Wyatt there, and why not Baltimore doesn't take Devontae Wyatt instead of Jordan Davis. Kind of the same thing that Devontae Wyatt, I think, could help with that run stopper, and as well also can still get after the quarterback as well. So I think that's who that's the route that I think that they should go. Not saying Chris Olave is bad. I think that they already are fine at the receiver position.
Yeah. My big thing with Devontae Wyatt is he's not necessarily known for his run-stopping ability. He's much more of a pass-rushing defensive lineman, and that was kind of showcased at the Senior Bowl. He got beat a lot on his run.
On his run blocking.
On his, well, I guess run
defense, yeah.
And so that I don't think he is quite the scheme fit that the Chargers would be looking for, and I think that they can get better value later on in the draft than getting an edge rushing defensive or a pass rushing defensive tackle like Devontae Wyatt. So that's my big thing with him is I think he looks the part, but he doesn't actually like participate in the run.
Yeah, and that's fair.
That's my big thing. So I'm still going to stick with Chris Olave. I think that makes that receiving. I think that makes that receiving core just that much better.
Yeah.
So,
okay, no, and it's absolutely fine. And I guess if they're in that mentality, well, it's not like it's bad mentality, but it's best player available. You look at that board, and Chris Olave is definitely up there as arguably the best player that can come in day one and provide that value. And so, but now I kind of already played my hand earlier, but with him still there, I'm looking at him right there. Devin Lloyd, I think, is going to be the pick. It kind of fits right in. Eagles need linebacking help. I think Devin Lloyd can come in and start day one and improve that linebacking core.
Yeah, he's an extremely long, aggressive, and smart linebacker. I think he is probably the most pro-ready linebacker. There might be a few guys that I like their tape more than his, but when it comes to a pro-style linebacker, I mean, he's 6'3", and like Ahmad Gardner, he has arms that stretch to both sides of the field. He's 237, 240 pounds, like right around that range. And so he can just do anything you ask him to. And I think in a scheme that's going to need guys that can play multiple roles, I think that's a perfect fit for Philadelphia.
Yeah.
Then up next is New Orleans' second first-round pick here at 19. They took Bernard Raymond, the tackle, earlier. That is George Karlaftis is the guy that immediately catches my eye. I would like to see them get a wide, but it's not going to be Sky Moore. I'm going to go on a hunch here, and I'm actually going to draft George Pickens, the wide receiver out of Georgia. I really like his tape from 2 years ago. I know he didn't play this past year because he tore his ACL in spring, but a guy who is a 90th percentile athletic. He's 6'3", 200 pounds, runs a low 4.4 40, extremely aggressive run blocker, has solid hands. I think he is probably the solution to a lot of the wide receiver problems that they've been having down there in New Orleans since Michael Thomas has gone down. I think he's an underrated guy because he did not play this past year, but I think he is a top 5 wide receiver in this class.
Yeah. No, and I really like that pick. I think the Saints, if they go with Bernard Raymond and then George Pickens or Chris Olave, one of those two guys who are definitely going or should be available for both their picks. I think that is a solid foundation for them to kind of keep building to try and get back to what they were like over these past couple of years and potentially make another Super Bowl run. Hopefully not. But yeah, I like that pick. And then now kind of moving on then to the 20th pick here with the Pittsburgh Steelers. This is where this for me, as long as like there's no trades or teams don't trade up, which potentially could be. I know we've already talked about it a little bit. Pittsburgh might be a team that trades up. This is where I believe the first quarterback could come off. I don't think it's going to happen, but this is, I think, the highest likelihood that a quarterback could come off here. But I will say they did draft Najee Harris last year, and they lost a lot of offensive linemen last year as well, and they just kind of pieced it together. And I think they're going to get a foundational piece here with Tyler Linderbaum. Have him come in as center, and if they have a center or they want to develop him as a center, he can play as at the guard position. But he's one of the better interior offensive linemen that we have seen, and I think that they're going to go with Tyler Linderbaum, kind of go back to that Pittsburgh Steelers way of playing smash mouth football and have a strong offensive line.
Okay, so I'll preface this. I like the pick. I think that is the right pick because I think it allows their current center to go back to guard, which he graded much better at 2 years ago than he did at center. But Tyler Linderbaum cannot play guard. He is like 285 pounds.
Okay.
He would be an extremely small guard. And fair. You can get away with it at center because there's certain rules that kind of protect the center. But extremely physical guy, very strong wrestling background. I don't know if you remember, I think 2 years ago when the Buccaneers drafted Tristan Wirfs, there is videos from, I think, high school when Tyler Linderbaum and Tristan Wirfs wrestled at national competitions, and Tyler Linderbaum actually won, which kind of shows you just how strong his play strength is. And that definitely transfers over into the NFL.
Yeah. Okay.
All right.
Well, and that's right. I think having that strong foundational piece for them to build on, it's really going to help them move forward. And they could take Malik Willis here. They could take Kenny Pickett. I don't think that would be a bad pick at this time, but I think the smarter pick might be to focus on the offensive line.
Yeah, and then I think going forward, I think you hand the reins to Mitchell Trubisky, and if he sucks, then you guys are picking in the top 10 next year. And you can go up and get the quarterback that you want.
A lot of choices to pick from. Pick from.
So up next is the New England Patriots. And I think this is a really interesting spot that they're in because I think they're in a prime spot to trade back. Green Bay obviously needs a wide receiver. I think teams like Kansas City, Tampa Bay might be getting up in front of them. I know Tampa Bay has good receivers right now, but Chris Godwin is franchise tagged. Mike Evans is 31. And it does not look like Rob Gronkowski's coming back. So they are actually kind of, not this year, but next year going to be losing a lot of weapons. And then also, too, Detroit could possibly make a move up to 21 to get a quarterback that they want. So I think there's a few teams that New England could trade back with here. But in this mock draft, we're not doing trades. And so the guy who I see mocked to them a lot is Kyer Elam. And I like that pick. I think that is probably the right pick for a few reasons. I think the drop-off at corner in this draft is extreme. I think you have 5, maybe 6 starting caliber corners from day one in the NFL in this draft, and I think everybody else is a project. Two, he played a very high level of competition as SEC football, and especially against Alabama with Mechie and Williams. He only allowed, I think, 3 catches for 34 yards. He did have like a couple penalties, but I would rather teach a guy to be less physical than have to teach a guy to be physical. So I think Kaiir Elam is the pick I'm going to go with here. Do you have any quarrels with that pick?
No, I would be interested in potentially seeing a receiver come off, or them potentially going that route. But that being said, I think that there's a lot of different needs that the Patriots have that if they like a player, they can address here, such as like linebacker. You have Nakobe Dean there. George Karlaftis, have him fall that far, a talent like that. I think he would work well in a Belichick defense. So I could also see them taking him here at this position. But I think Kaiir Elam, that was probably the biggest thing for me that I noticed just watching you guys in the latter half of the season go up against the Bills, and just the secondary was not there. And I think you guys need that elite secondary. I don't think that's something that we're used to seeing from a Bill Belichick defense.
Yeah, and I think Elam, he already has press man skills. I think he's actually underrated in zone because he is so long. And I just think that's the right pick. I think he's the New England guy. He can play outside. I think we have a plethora of slot corners. And I think that's the pick here at 21.
Okay. All right. I like it. Now moving to 22, I will say them with this guy is still standing here, and if the Patriots don't take him, but Aaron Rodgers needs someone to throw to, and I see Sky Moore sitting right there. So I'm going to be taking Sky Moore here. They could go some other receiver routes, but I think that this is going to be – they need to address that position because that receiver room – I think it's Alan Lazard, the number one
currently, yes.
Yeah, number one receiver right now. So, I mean, he's good, but I don't think he's not receiver one talent. So
No. I like Sky Moore. I think he adds a different skill set to that wide receiver group that has honestly for the last few years been big, fast guys like Devontae Adams, MVS, Equanimous St. Brown, and even Alan Lazard kind of falls into that category. And Sky Moore is a Julian Edelman-like player, except he is much more explosive, and he even led the FBS in broken tackles last year. So I think that is a good skill set to add to an aging quarterback because he can get the ball in his hands, and then Sky Moore can get the ball downfield. So up next is number 23, the Arizona Cardinals. I think Devontae Wyatt is a good fit here. He's not Chandler Jones is not a comp, like a comp for Devontae Wyatt. However, I think Devontae Wyatt can play a Chandler Jones-esque role in the pass rush. And I think that is definitely something that they are going to need going forward because Chandler Jones is now on the Raiders.
Yeah. That was I think we've gone offensive line here over the past couple of draft class, but then definitely after looking into it, not draft class, mock drafts. But after looking into it, though, I think defensive interior, I could also see them taking George Karlaftis here as well. Just because that's too good of a talent, really, I think, to pass up at this point. I would say Nakobe Dean maybe, but they took Zaven Collins last year, so then double dipping at linebacker, I think, might
and
be.
They also they would actually be triple dipping at linebacker in the first round because they took Isaiah Simmons from Clemson
they did.
2 years ago. So
Okay. Yeah, I remember that now. So, okay, now then, coming up then to the 24th pick, the Dallas Cowboys. I mean, for me, it's Zion Johnson right here. I think he's going to fit in really well with that system. Nasty guy, good run blocker. Yeah. I think come in, Ezekiel Elliott is going to want to be running the ball a lot more. Dak Prescott's going to need some protection. I think Zion Johnson is going to be the fit here. I know. I could see them taking the 3 names above Zion Johnson, but I think just knowing Jerry Jones and then also the type of football that they want to play, I think that's going to trump any of the defensive needs that they have right now. But you did have a good point there. I think Andrew Booth Jr. potentially could be taken here just because of how thin the talent is at cornerback later
Yeah.
on in the draft. But so all that being said, I think Zion Johnson's someone that can come in and play now, especially then after they lost L. Collins as well in the free agency, and that offensive line needs a little bit of bolstering.
Yeah, and Zion Johnson, I think, is a guy that can play any position on that offensive line. And I am usually against taking guards this high up because, this is my opinion, but it's also a popular opinion. Guard is the easiest position to play on the offensive line. Center is kind of the brain of the offensive line. The tackles are the muscle, and then the guards are just kind of stuck somewhere in between. And I think Zion Johnson, if as just a guard prospect, is a early day 2 prospect, but since he can play all throughout the offensive line, I like that pick. Gives the Cowboys a lot of versatility with just one pick. So I do like that pick. Up next is the Buffalo Bills, the Patriots' arch nemesis. The Bills have a lot of edge rushers. They drafted Gregory Rousseau early last year. So I don't think George Karlaftis is really a guy that's on their radar. But I think the fact that he's fallen this far is something that the Bills would be intrigued by. But I still go back to after Tre'Davious White went hurt and they were playing with like Levi Wallace and like a few other random corners that I had never heard of. I still feel like they're going to go with Andrew Booth Jr. here, just get another guy alongside Tre'Davious White to go alongside Jordan Poyer in that secondary and really make that defense elite.
Yeah. No, I was thinking the same thing. That I had that same thought process. Like it's hard to pass up George Karlaftis, but you don't need edge rushers. And then also you just signed Von Miller as well too. So exactly. It's just going to be a jam-packed room. And I think cornerback depth something that you need. You have the best pass defense statistically last year. So, but still. Once when Tre'Davious White went down, we kind of saw the slow progression of the cracks through the corner. So you want to have as much depth and talent there as possible because a lot of the other spots on the defense are filled in pretty good. So, that makes my next pick for the Tennessee Titans very easy. George Karlaftis, if I'm not mistaken, correct me if I'm wrong, but Harold Landry, right? Yeah. I don't think Harold Landry is with the Titans anymore. I think he signed elsewhere.
I don't think so either.
Yeah. And so I think as much as they need offensive line help, I think they can address that. They don't have a second round pick, but with their later picks.
I was going to say, you can get guards and other project tackles later in this draft. I mean, it's so deep.
It'd be tough. It's tough to pass up Tyler Smith, but because I think he would be a great fit for that offense. But I mean, George Karlaftis is right here. Like you have to take George Karlaftis because honestly, that Tennessee secondary is not very good. The reason why that defense was so competent last year was because of how awesome that defensive front four was and how they were able to get after the quarterback consistently, put a lot of pressure on him. They don't have that. The Titans, I think, are giving up 30-plus points every single game. So I think they go with George Karlaftis here. I think that's a pretty easy pick. I think Mike Vrabel is running up to the stand to put in his vote if George Karlaftis falls this far. But I can't believe he fell that far.
I know, but we just kind of kept seeing other players that just like fit that team better.
They were really good talent that could come in. But if George Karlaftis is there, like I think the Titans are taking him in a heartbeat. Yeah.
And then speaking of guys who I think fell a little bit, Travis Jones to me is a really interesting prospect. Everybody talks so much about Jordan Davis. People don't realize how much of a force Travis Jones is. And I really like his fit with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I think he's Ndamukong Suh is his probably pro comp. Just a huge aggressive nose tackle who is just going to overpower and push back offensive centers and guards. And I really like him here at 27.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like that one, especially after you brought his name up. I've been seeing some of his highlights and stats. I think he's going to fit in well. I could absolutely see Bruce Arians Todd Bowles take this up. Hey, watch if you're hitting. I think your mic's going or something's going back and forth. It's rattling every time you move.
Oh,
Yeah.
it might be my lighting is hitting my lamp, or my lighting is hitting my mic.
Oh, okay.
So
Okay.
is it still doing it?
I didn't just hear it then.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Okay. Yeah, I just heard it then.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's my lighting. When I move my mouse on the table, it shakes the lighting, which then hits my lamp.
Okay. I got you now. Okay.
So,
I got you now. Okay.
I'll fix that by the draft tomorrow night.
Oh, okay. All right. That's good.
By the way, for the one person watching, we are going live tomorrow for the draft.
Yeah.
So
feel
sure
free to
tune
join
in.
us. Yeah. Yeah. Hang out with us. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Two's comedy, but three's a party. Hey.
Yeah.
Anyways. So now then on to Green Bay's second pick. And scroll down a little bit here because they could go receiver here. But I know they also need offensive line help, and I'm seeing Tyler Smith sitting there, and that's not. They maybe could take Treylon Burks, but heck.
Trevor Penning. Oh, did you freeze again?
Oh, can you hear me?
Yeah, you just froze a little bit.
Okay,
again.
Sorry. Did you hear who I picked?
Tyler Smith.
Yep.
Okay.
I think
we heard that part. Yeah.
Okay. Good. All right. Good. They need offensive line help, and also just having just a good general. You're going to need to keep Aaron Rodgers up. They address the receiver position. I think they can address the receiver position again. I think they can get a good talent here in Tyler Smith. Just kind of beef up that offensive line.
Yeah. No. I like that pick. I definitely think that is something that they need to address this draft. They did get a wide receiver with the first pick. So I think that is a good mix there. Up next is the 29th overall pick, which is the Kansas City Chiefs. It is their first round pick. They need wide receiver, D-line, corner. I also do think that they need to kind of address the right side of that offensive line. So I'm going to go actually with Kenyon Green here. He can play right guard for them. I know it's a little bit of a reach, but I think he is an extremely aggressive offensive lineman who will benefit their run game, which in turn I think makes that offense a whole lot better because they have not had very much of a run game the past few years, and their wide receiving core is a little bit depleted. So,
yeah, I like that. Remember, I think I have to go back and check some of our. This is our second mock draft. Where was our? So I think we had at the start of all this, we had Kenyon Green going 6 over. This is the second mock draft. But Kenyon Green went 6 to the Carolina Panthers. So I don't know what has changed too much, I guess, from everyone's mindset, even our mindset. But I think for Kansas City to get him here with 29th and then have another first round pick as well. I think is going to. I think they would be ecstatic with that. Beef up that offensive line, and help protect Patrick Mahomes and Clyde Edwards-Helaire.
And I know that the 30th pick is yours, but can I make a recommendation?
Go ahead.
Treylon Burks. Could you imagine if Treylon Burks works out and then Patrick Mahomes all of a sudden has a 6'3", 225-pound weapon to go alongside Travis Kelce, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Juju Smith-Schuster, Marquez Valdez-Scantling, and that is all dynamic.
Yeah, and so I thought about that too, but then because one of the biggest things for me though is they need to address the defense as well, and I think that they can
do that with their 2 seconds and 2/3.
Yeah, absolutely. And so for me, I think with Lewis Sign is it Scene or Sign? Scene.
Scene. Yeah, Lewis Scene.
With Lewis Sign sitting right there, I think I think that's the guy who they have to take here because they can go and address. They have 2 second-round picks. They have 2 third-round picks. Maybe they have 6 picks in the top 100 or 103 picks or something like that. So they can definitely address the receiver position. And there's a lot of good players that they can pick that might fall to them. Jahan Dotson, David Bell as well. So I think picking Lewis Seen here, I think he can come in day one. I could also see them taking Nakobe Dean as well. I could see them if they don't want to take Kenyon Green. I was thinking potentially doubling up on the defensive side of the ball, take Nakobe Dean and Lewis Seen as well back to back. But I think they can replace Tyrann Mathieu right here with this pick.
My one thing with that is they kind of already did by signing Justin Reed. But with that being said, Justin Reed was slightly unproven. He played well in Houston, but he was not a Tyrann Mathieu level corner. And I think Lewis Seen is going to be a Tyrann Mathieu level corner. And
so I think that has some versatility. He can kind of grow into that position.
Up next is the 31st pick. This will be my last pick in the first round. And this is interesting because there really are not a whole lot of offensive linemen left. There is Trevor Penning. However, Riley Reif and is it Lyle Collins are now the 2 tackles in Cincinnati. So I don't want to say that takes them off the board, but it just makes drafting a tackle a little less useful than it would have earlier in the offseason. I don't really need any. They definitely don't need any wide receivers. Okay, I'm gonna go with Trevor Penning here. I think he's a little bit of a project because he has a tendency to hold. However, I think he can sit for a year behind Riley Reif, and then next season he's a plug-in left tackle. They'll still have Lyle Collins, Ted Karras. And then they can fill out some of their offensive line later on in the draft. So I think that's the best pick here.
I think that's a solid pick. I still like them taking corners personally, just because in addressing that secondary position.
My thing is so Jalen Petrie here is a safety. Like I know they have him listed at corner, but he's really a box safety. And I just think they kind of already have guys that can play that. So we'll see. But I think Trevor Penning is a top 25 talent. He just has the glaring issue of holding. So
that's kind of a big issue. But if they can get that addressed, I think that's going to help out. And so, scroll up again. Is there one person above Malik Willis?
Nakobe Dean.
So I would love, and I think I did this I think we talked about this the other day, and I would love to see them do this only because he would have been a top 10, top 15 pick. Maybe not top 10, but top 15 pick. But I would take David Ajabo here. So I think that you could take him as a flyer because he's fallen so much just because he tore his Achilles. But I think similar to the Jameson Williams pick with modern medicine now, and also, just as the example of how quickly Cam Akers came back and was able to perform in an elite level. However, though, with Nakobe Dean sitting right there, I don't see how they can pass him up. Now they are picking
in
two picks. So who knows what Jacksonville is going to take? But I think you can't pass up there because the worst case scenario, David Ajabo. It might still be there at the beginning of the third round if teams don't want to take him. So I'm going to take Nakobe Dean here. I think that this is the pick that you have to take. He's going to come in and start day one, and then you have your 2 first-round picks, Kayvon Thibodeau and then Nakobe Dean as well. 2 first-day starters.
Oh, yeah, 100%. Nakobe Dean is a little bit small for a linebacker. I think that is probably part of the reason why he fell on our board so far. But he's a guy I think that plays a lot bigger than his size. And another thing, too, that I don't think a lot of people are talking about was he was surrounded by Quay Walker and Channing Tindall, who really allowed Georgia to utilize Nakobe Dean's skill set in the best way possible, and he never really had to play out of position.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that is one thing to keep an eye out for. I like Nakobe Dean a lot as a prospect, but I think he is probably one of the guys that we will see fall the most.
Yeah.
And he could potentially fall out of the first round, which I would be surprised by. But
Yeah.
he's also
Well,
5'11", 225.
but that's what I kind of feel like why the Lions would be a good fit for them. That
Yeah.
like a couple years for him to really develop his game,
Yeah.
figure out like what how he fits best within that system. And the Lions, and it sounds kind of like the Kobe Dean's a misfit toy, and the Lions are a land of misfit toys. I mean, that team is going to be
Yeah.
fun to watch. Everyone is kind of silently rooting for them. I think everyone feels
Yeah.
they're kind of like the Browns, a little bit like how the Browns were when they were going through their 0-15,
Yeah.
0-16.
Oh, you froze one last time. Well, we will wait for Tyler to come back to wrap up this mock draft. But thank you for watching. I think this is going to be one of the most interesting drafts
Yeah.
of any of the last, I think, 5 or so drafts, just because it's so unpredictable. It's last year you could almost completely predict the top 10 down to like the position. And this year, I mean, it is possible that Kyle Hamilton goes number 1 overall. And we had him go off the board at 13. So that to me just shows how crazy this draft is going to be tomorrow night. I'm very excited to watch how it all plays out.
Yeah.
And man, it's going to be thrilling. I'm very excited to watch the chaos of tomorrow night.
Yeah. Tomorrow's going to be fun. And I'm very curious to kind of see, and this is just my bias, but then the biggest thing I'm curious to see is who's going to and go get someone, because I don't know if I would. Like, there's a lot of talent here, but I don't know if I'd go trade up and go get someone. That makes sense. The only team, but even Pittsburgh, like there's going to be a quarterback available for them. I guess if they really like a guy, you go and trade up for him. But there's so many other needs though. So it's going to be very interesting to see. Then when they trade up, what's the cost going to be?
Yeah, I am curious to see how many quarterbacks, if any, go in the first round. I'm going to put the over/under at 2.5. I am going to pick the under, but I think it is very possible that the Eagles are suspected of really liking a guy. The Panthers are suspected of really liking a guy. Did I say the Steelers already?
No.
The Steelers are suspected of really liking Kenny Pickett specifically. So I think it is possible that Malik Willis goes to Carolina at 6. I also think it's possible that he goes to Carolina at 38. Like, it's a crapshoot to me on when these quarterbacks are going to go.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. No, I think so as well. It's going to be fun. It's going to be a good time.
One last question here from the Delusional Patriots fan, and Tyler, just so you know, I'm not the one typing that. But who trades up? Who takes the first quarterback? Why did New England trade with the Texans? Mysteries. Okay, so who trades up? I think there are going to be 2 phases when people trade up. I think there's going to be the high teens and early 20s when teams are trying to trade up to get the first round of the second wave of wide receivers. And I think that there's going to be the first wave of trades in the latter half of the top 10 when teams like the Giants have their second pick. The Falcons might move back to try and acquire more picks. I think that there are going to be spots like that because somebody out of that top 5 is going to fall. You have 3 of those offensive linemen, 3 of those defensive ends, and then I think 2 to 3 corners could go in the top 10. And if one of those guys, or if one team really likes a guy that falls out of the top 6, I think we could see some movement there. Tyler, what do you think about that?
Yeah, a team I'm definitely looking at trading up just with the space because they have 2 first-round picks and the space between them. But the Packers, we'll see how it plays out. But if those 3
Oh, you disconnected again. But yeah, so what I was thinking, what I think he was going to say was, if one of those 3 top receivers makes it out of the top 10, we could see wide receiver heavy or wide receiver needy teams like Kansas City with 2 first-round picks, Green Bay with 2 first-round picks, potentially move up and draft one of those other guys. To answer your question, while he reconnects, why did New England trade with the Texans? I think New England is trying to get as many picks as possible this year. There was an interview with Bill Belichick today where he basically said that he wanted to make that trade happen for more of a positioning effort rather than just having the 170th overall pick. And I think he also is going to value that having a pick in the 7th round more than just the 170 pick. So I think that's why New England traded with the Texans. And then who takes the first QB? I think it depends. If Carolina trades back, I think they could be the first one to take a quarterback. But if they have to pick at 6, I highly doubt it. And then I think that kind of leaves a big gap in teams all the way up to Pittsburgh that could take the first quarterback off the board. So it's really going to be a crapshoot. I think there is a lot left on the table by this quarterback class. So we'll have to see.
Yeah, sorry about that. I having issues with the internet here, but I think I caught a little bit of that of Carolina, and I agree with you. If there's not an offensive lineman that they like, if they don't feel like one of the offensive linemen, or if they're all gone, I could see them trading. I could see the Jets. I know they had them receiver. If they would maybe want to trade up just a couple spots, jump in front of Atlanta and grab the first receiver, or any other teams that might potentially want to go up and grab a receiver, such as I've also seen the Saints. I mentioned this. Seen some stuff where they will trade for the 2nd pick for the New York Giants to grab the top receiver that they like. And so Carolina definitely is going to be a team. If they pick, then I don't see too many teams trading up. Unless if it's just an offer that they can't refuse. Mm-hmm. I could see Houston trading their 2nd pick. That's also kind of a spot. I think we mentioned this, similar to what the Bears did last year with the Giants. If teams want to trade up, I could also see that being a spot as well.
Yeah. It's definitely going to be an interesting draft. And again, this is going to be so difficult to predict. I'm just very excited to watch it all kind of play out. So I think a lot of teams are going to get a lot of good players tomorrow night. And at this point, I think we're going to wrap up the stream. Thank you for watching and commenting. We really appreciate the support. And if you have not already, please like and subscribe. And I think we're going live at 6:45 Eastern tomorrow.
It starts at 8 Eastern, unless if you want to talk for. Yeah.
Oh.
I love you, man. I don't want to talk to you for 75 minutes more than I have to.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I thought it started at 7.
7 Central Time.
Oh, okay.
So 8 Eastern.
Okay, so then we'll go live at 7:45 tomorrow night. So if you would like to join, we would be more than happy to have you. And other than that, we'll see you next time.